Hi guys, Darth Deuce here, back on the Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. Today taking a look at a brand new deluxe release. It is the Deluxe Black Krrsantan, or just Krrsantan, from the Book of Boba Fett. A figure that I know was, I think anyways, highly anticipated by a lot of collectors after the fiasco that was that publishing wave Black Krrsantan. I don't know how that even got approved to be sold. I don't own it, but from all the reviews and the stuff I've seen, it just looks like such an awful figure. It's just a repainted Chewbacca, that old Chewbacca mold with a different head and the bandolier thing, and has an awful paint job. It looks like he was drenched in greasy black oil. It's just terrible. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to this, myself as well. And it's finally come out, and it's a pretty cool figure. Not without its faults, but I would definitely right off the bat say probably one of the best deluxe figures they've released in the Black Series so far. I feel like, well, not feel like I know that with these deluxe releases, it's always a conversation with pretty much every release. We're struggling with whether it's worth that deluxe price tag, because there are definitely some deluxe figures that just straight up do not feel like they're worth that price tag. I'm looking at the uh, Throne Room Book of Boba Fett when I'm thinking of that. But this one at least comes close. I don't know if I can fully say it's worth that deluxe price point, but I honestly could probably say that with every release because figures are just expensive now. Anyway, so let's just get right into it. Black Krrsantan here, or just Krrsantan as it says on the packaging. He's an all-new sculpt from head to toe. So right there, that does take up some budget of price, I would say. And turned out great. He's big. When you pick up the box, when he's in the box, he's got a noticeable heft to him. And decent size. I like the proportions a lot. Each piece is pretty thick, and yeah, it looks pretty good. The head sculpt looks great. I like the expression. He's got his mouth opened up a little bit. They painted the red and the white of the teeth there. The red of the mouth, the white of the teeth. And then, I'm not going to point it out every time, but he's a standard like light black for his fur. And then all throughout the figure, you'll see this gray brushing thrown into there to show off the details and just how it looks in the show. He wasn't fully black. He had these gray bits, which I would guess from aging, but I don't actually know. The only thing I will say is that they didn't put any of that gray paint on the back of the figure, so it's a little odd that he's got it all in the front but not in the back. But yeah, when he's on the shelf, you're not going to see the back of him, for me personally, so it doesn't bother me that much. The eyes are face printed, or were printed rather, and they look nice. I like that they went glossy black for the nose to differentiate it from his fur. That's good. The bandolier shoulder armor looks really nice. They put a fair amount of detail with some different brushing to make it look like actual worn metal armor, which is really nice. And the sculpted detail there looks great. You got some brown detailing for these straps here. It looks really good. I know that publishing series, comic book, Black Krrsantan had this really awful, unpainted, just like yellowy looking bandolier that looks so plasticky and bad. This looks premium. It looks premium, so that is good. He's got these gold bits in his dreadlocks or whatever, braids, I guess, in his hair, which I think look really good. And they're made of pliable plastic, so they shouldn't get out of the way and hopefully shouldn't break off. So that's nice. Got his belt here, some more nice sculpted detail and some more of that weathering. He's got some, I assume, some sort of trophy or something hanging off there. Or maybe it would have been nice to have a little bit of paint to bring out the details a bit more on this, but not too bad. He's got a pouch sculpt here that actually has a black wash on it, which is cool. Hands look nice. He actually does have the knuckle dusters sculpted and painted on there, which is cool. He just does have a pair of trigger hands sculpted there. And the legs, not too much to talk about, but you can just see all the nice sculpted detail of the fur, and the paint looks good. And they even painted his toes and the bottoms of his feet a different color, which is cool. The waist, crotch area, as well as the torso, does have an overlay on it, which I imagine is used so they can work in more articulation without breaking up the look. So that's cool. Speaking of articulation, he's decently articulated. You know, there's definitely hindrances. You have to imagine that with a character of this design, it's just bound to happen. But head-wise, you can rotate the head just a bit. He can look side to side a little bit, but it's hindered quite a bit. Looking up and down, very slight, but you're not going to get much there. Not really much pivot either, just due to the sculpt. It's just the reality of it. That's what I expected. Hinges at the shoulders, you can get them out close to 90. The armor does hinder it a little bit. It does shift out of the way a bit, but it will get in the way. He does actually also have butterfly joints, funnily enough, which I wouldn't have really expected. They don't move a whole lot, but I haven't seen a Black Series figure yet that had really good butterfly joints, so it's not too bad. Single hinges at the elbows. The one on the right moves pretty much 90. The one on the left is a little shy of 90 because of the sculpt of the fur. And then his wrists rotate, and both of them go, or no, sorry, this one goes up and down vertically, and this one goes in and out. A bit of an odd choice, but usually it's the other way around, but not a big deal. Torso joint, he actually has a torso cut up here, and it's hidden really nicely by the placement of the straps, the bandolier, so that point of articulation is pretty much completely hidden, so that's good. You get a bit of crunch, you get him going up a bit, a little bit of pivot as well as rotation, so that's good. Hip joints, they move out about that far. They actually go back a fair amount. He has the new style hip cuts, so you actually get the rotation up at the top of the ball joint of the hip right there, which is pretty good, so you don't have that cut in the thigh, which on this figure would look pretty ugly. Single hinge at the knee goes 90, and then hinges at the ankles. They go up further than you would expect, honestly. That's not bad. Down, about what I expected, and then you have ankle pivot. I do actually like inside there, the joint is actually sculpted to look like it's the same as the fur of his leg, so it doesn't look too out of place. So that's pretty cool. I like that. In terms of accessories, maybe my most disappointing the part of this figure I'm most disappointed of does just come with one accessory, but it is a pretty substantial one. He does come with the big old gun that he has in the show, sculpted into a very sturdy plastic. Like this probably shouldn't warp on you, which is nice. I like it when they do this more sturdier plastic. Sculpted nice, lots of nice detail. Got some good paint, some red detailing there. And then you have the silver and then this bluish of like the scorching, or I don't know what you would call that, but from it being heated up from firing. So that looks really nice actually. And the scope there looks good. You can hold it. I will say it's a little difficult getting him into poses where it looks like he's actually firing it or like aiming it. It can be done. Like you can kind of get him holding it up and look like he's kind of aiming it, but it is a bit hindered because you can't turn the head as far as you'd want to. The stock of the gun is quite big, and he himself is proportionately pretty big, so it's just yeah, it can be difficult getting him into an actual gun shooting pose. That's what I can do right off the bat. If you work with it a bit, you can get a little bit better looking. I've done it, but still there are hindrances there that are worth mentioning. But fun little feature is that the gun actually has this little peg here, and on the back it's got this little square hole, and you can actually peg on the gun to the back and store it on his back. Very cool. Always like weapon storage like that on figures. That works pretty well. When you're messing with it, it'll probably, well, it's a relatively solid connection, but if you're posing around and you have it on, it'll probably pop off. But if you're going to display him with it on his back, then it'll work out pretty good. But unfortunately, that's all he comes with, which is kind of a shame because the TVC Deluxe Black Krrsantan comes with a bunch more stuff. Now, they are similar price points, and the TVC figure is a much smaller figure, so that's why there's a bit more accessories. I get that. But, I mean, I wish at the very least this figure would have came with some interchangeable closed fists, considering he's going around punching and whatnot a lot, and he's got the knuckle dusters. You can kind of fake it with the grip hands, but it doesn't look nearly as good. And, I mean, I feel like 2 additional hands, really, I wouldn't feel like we'll be completely out of the budget there. So I do wish they would have included that at the least. Then I would have been fairly satisfied with the accessories, but just coming with the gun is a little unfortunate. But yeah, I guess lastly, just comparisons, I suppose. So I guess first off, here he is with his TVC counterpart. This is the convention exclusive Deluxe. Obviously, they're very small, but you can kind of see the similarities and whatnot. They've got their ups and downs. I really like the head sculpt on this figure. And of course, this figure comes with a bunch of more accessories. So he does have, in my opinion, a lot more playability and display options. But I would say I think the paint on this figure is better. This figure has some weathering on the armor, but I think the weathering looks a lot better on this one. They painted the brown on this straps on this one's armor as well. This one doesn't have that brown paint. You can't store the gun on his back on the TVC either. I would also maybe say I prefer the gray detailing on this figure more than I do on this one. I feel this one looks more like how he appeared in the show rather than this one. So that's something to consider as well. But they're both really good figures. If you collect only one or the other line, you're in for a good Black Krrsantan figure no matter which line you collect. So that's good. Here he is with another character that appeared in the Book of Boba Fett, and another bounty hunter. Here is with Cad Bane. You see Krrsantan, I would say, is appropriately larger than him. Here he is with the most closest thing we have to a Book of Boba Fett. Here is the Throne Room Fett Deluxe figure. You can see how they look together. Hopefully we get a more accurate Book of Boba Fett figure for the Black Series at some point. And then here is a couple other deluxes, recent deluxes. Here is Ned B from late last year. You can see he's a little taller than him. And then here he is with the, again, pretty recently released Gaming Greats Deluxe Darth Malgus. They stand about the same height. Krrsantan is a bit heftier though. And then lastly, here he is with the old Chewbacca. This is the 40th anniversary of New Hope figure, I do believe. And you see how they look together, and you can see that the Chewbacca figure is quite a bit tall, well, not quite a bit, but he's about half a head taller. And I feel like Krrsantan should be at least the same height, if not even a little bigger than Chewbacca. I will say, I think Chewbacca needs they need to go back and do a whole new mold and new figure. This mold is not bad, but it is getting dated. They need to do a new figure for him. And I'm not sure exactly how accurate the scale is on this old Chewbacca either. I'm not sure, but a little disappointing, I guess, on the size of Krrsantan. I will say I do wish he was just a little bit bigger, not much, just a little taller, and I think I would have been pretty okay with his size. It's still not bad, but I do wish he was a little bigger. But overall, I do think this is a pretty great release. Like I said, I think it is one of the best deluxe figures that Hasbro has put out in the last few years, honestly. In terms of getting your bang for your buck, deluxes can be iffy, but this one I think is a lot closer to meeting that price point expectation for me than some other figures have. He's beautifully sculpted, well painted. The accessories does come with is good. Posability, I guess, could be a little better, but it's hard to be much better with the design just of the character. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with this figure. I wasn't sure because I was really impressed with the TVZ figure. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this figure as much after that, but I still really like this figure a lot. I'm happy to have both in my collection. And I would say, if you're a big fan of the character, I would definitely recommend picking this figure up. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.